just thought let's do some quick check on who are the types of communicators here.
Okay.
So I would request all of you to, can you move to the next slide?
Sure. Oh, there's a
Yeah,
QR
to,
code.
yes, to click on the QR code, or if you don't have a QR code scanner, you can actually just key in menti.com and use the digital code 51430. You can do this from your phone as well.
Okay. And you like them to do this now?
Yes, do this now because next slide I'm going to tell them, and not to click anything, of course, not to click anything. Just enter that page where the options are given and we will
Right.
try to find out what type of communicator they are. This is for their own benefit.
Okay. So it's for your own benefit, everybody tuning in. You can either scan the QR code or open your browser, type in menti, menti.com, key in the digit code 51430. And this is to help you identify what type of communicator you are.
So maybe they can just drop in a word in the chat box that they're done so that we'll know, we'll proceed from
Yeah,
there.
so we get it. Yeah. And once you've accessed this page, please put in the chat box done. Or if you want to be creative, look for the tick icon or a smiley face. Hey, looks like quite a number is coming in saying they've done. Excellent.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that in my message as well here. Okay, you're right. Because when we change this slide, you may not get that QR code, but you can still always take that menti.com and 51430. You can always key in that. Either way, it's going to work.
Okay, how would we know what each type means? You will
Yeah,
explain,
that's the
right?
next slide, actually. I haven't shown that yet.
Okay, so once you enter the code, it has type A, B, C, D.
That's all. I mean,
Yeah.
do not
Don't
select
do
anything
anything
as of
yet.
now.
Yeah. Don't do anything yet. Prof. Som will actually walk us through this. Okay, I'm going to do a countdown, and by the end of the countdown, we'll move on. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Prof. Som, shall we move to the next
Yes,
bit?
please move to the next slide.
Okay.
So we are going to do, what we're going to do is, I'm going to tell you about 4 types of communicator. I'm not going to tell you what is the name of those communicator as of now until you vote or take the poll. But let's start with the first one. Can you click next? Yes.
Right.
The one that you see in red and the bold, they are actually the positive aspects. The not so bold or the red can be construed as a not so positive. So type A, now mind you, this is not same as type A, type B personality. Don't confuse yourself. These are communicators. A means these people are result orientated, focused, and competitive. They are quick and very decisive. But because they are very independent and confident, they always prefer a busy, efficient, and structured environment. That
Now,
is A.
when you say results oriented, focused, and competitive, does it mean that when they speak, it's with the purpose of achieving a result,
Yes,
and
they
they get
always
straight to
go
the
with a
point?
purpose.
So they're
There's
not
no, there is no other talks.
no
It's
flower
goal
language.
orientated.
No, how are you today? Could I borrow your pencil? It's like
No,
picking
no, no.
pencil. Could I borrow a pencil?
No, no, not like that. They might
Not like that.
just say, yeah, I'm good. Can I borrow your pencil? They will
Oh,
answer that, but they won't ask back probably, how are you?
okay. All right. And the next type, shall we go to the next
Yes,
type?
yes, please proceed. Next type. This
Okay.
group of people, when they communicate, they're very sociable, enthusiastic, and persuasive. They can communicate easily and fluently with others and have a spontaneous and fun-loving nature. Due to their energetic and expressive nature, others may feel they talk more than they listen.
Oh dear, that sounds like me.
Right. I think we can move on to the next one. This slide will be projected. So before you vote, you can always have a
Recap.
look
Yeah.
again. This type C, they are very patient, cooperative, and most of the time sympathetic. They are active listener, and they probably anticipate the need of others when they talk. But the problem is because they dislike change, they might appear indecisive to the listeners to whom they are speaking at times.
Right. Okay. And the last one?
Last one, they're very cautious, precise, but disciplined. They are deliberate and methodical problem solver. They may be perceived as a perfectionist. Socializing with others will allow them to realize that they're very, very diplomatic. So these are the 4 types. So we'll just don't worry about it, because many times what happens is we are a mix of all these 4. But let's see which is the most predominant. Whichever you feel that it's more predominant with you, you can click on that.
Okay.
We can give a little bit of time for that, or like a few minutes or a couple of minutes.
Yeah. So what we want you to do is look again through these. Which style or which one do you think you are more inclined towards? Now this is a poll. Yeah, this is a poll because Prof. Som, what he's going to do after this is when he speaks, he's going to correlate it to the majority of our communicating types. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm getting the results. 18 so far actually has casted in their vote.
Okay. So have a think and then pick and then click submit. And I'm going to do another countdown. So,
It's 28 so far. Not bad.
Forcing you to be a bit decisive here, right? So we're going to close the poll and move on in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're closing the poll. Prof. Som, do you have what you need?
Yes, I have the types here.
Okay.
Wow. I have total of 37 people who actually opted for the poll. Okay. Out of that, 14 are type A.
Okay.
Type B is 8. Type C is 12. So I can see the second highest is type C. And type D is 3.
Okay.
So now let me tell you what is type A and type B and type C. So I can see predominantly that I'm talking to people who are type A and type C. Not bad.
Okay.
So type A are considered very direct person. If you're a communicator, you're a pretty direct communicator. You don't like beat around the bush. You just go ahead and go for it. Whatever you have in your mind, you just say it out loud. So I think we are dealing with most of them that are here are this type of communicator. Okay. B are the types who are the initiative ones, who take initiation in communication. That's why they probably sometimes go out. And in that process, they're so engrossed in communication that they probably don't listen much. They just talk more.
Okay.
Type C would be the supportive type. They always a better listener. As you can see, it's written cooperative, sympathetic, active listener. It's obviously mentioned there. So these people are very supportive communicator. And the type D, which we have only very few, are the analytical ones. So whenever they communicate, they analyze and they're very precise in whatever they do. So these are the 4 types of communicator that we have. So Barbara, which type are you? Okay.
Oh God. Now this is a result of old age because for a moment now I cannot remember if I pick A or B. It's either one of the two.
All right. So this one has been taken from the Toastmaster survey. So they have a speech. You have to give a speech on the communication style. So I have taken this particular thing is reference from the Toastmasters survey of communication styles. So this shows that the types of communicator. Now coming to your question that you asked me, what are the good points of a communicator, a good communicator? Can we go to the next slide? Like I have put in an acronym called SWAV. First point is be simple. if you want to get your message through, rather than using bombastic words or some serious language, a simple word would be very effective when you're communicating with people. Now, when I say this, I'm keeping in mind mainly our students, faculty, patients. I'm looking from that point of view and saying this. If you keep it simple, patients will understand you. Faculty will get a point through to the students as well from the faculty point of view. So keep the communication simple. And if you want to keep it simple, keep it in short sentences. But not just yes or no. Keep it in short sentences. Next one would be understand. This is listen to understand. Many times what happens, I'll give an example. When we have an exam, we ask the student a question. The student is silent. This could mean two possibilities. Either the student don't understand the question or the student do not know the answer.
Right.
Many times what I do is I ask the student, did you understand the question? If they say yes, then I know, okay, the problem is not about the understanding, the problem is about knowledge.
Okay.
Idea is, please try to understand what is the other person saying before you communicate. Many times what happens, we actually listen to react rather than listen to understand. And that can lead to conflicts.
Okay.
Sometimes what happens if you do not understand, you ask. There's no harm in clarifying. Many times you might feel that, oh, we have been talking the same thing. The person, and why are we arguing for? We have been talking the same thing all this while. So understanding is a very key to communication. Action by non-verbal gestures. Now this itself is a big topic to discuss, because when we say non-verbal gestures, we actually mean it could be eye gestures, facial gestures, hand gestures, and also the body stance. But since Barbara mentioned that everything is covered by PPE, so I'll just go by eye gestures.
Right. Okay.
So now the eye gestures is also very important when it comes to teacher-student. Like, it can work both ways. If the teacher is talking to the student looking somewhere else, it will give a perception to the student, he doesn't care. He's just doing it for the sake of doing it. And he will not put an interest on that particular topic, whatever the faculty is talking about, or whatever the discussion is happening. Similarly, if the student, while answering, do not have eye contact with the faculty,
Right.
the faculty will immediately perceive, this candidate is not very confident. The candidate is looking down or looking left and right. So these kind of things are perceived. Remember, human beings, there will be a lot of subjective feelings. So this action of non-verbal gestures also bring in a very effective part of communication. So when you're communicating, always make sure you make an eye contact. For example, sitting here, when I'm doing this webinar, the only eye contact I can make with you is I look into the camera. Yeah. If I have a screen full of you, all of you there in the screen, everyone's video camera is on, and if I look at you, it's still not eye contact, even though I'm looking at you. The only eye contact will happen that you feel that I'm seeing you is when I look at the camera in front of me. We have to adapt to the changes. Yep. So this is the non-verbal gestures, just the eye contact. Maintain the eye contact. It makes a lot of difference. Vocal tone. I cannot emphasize that on much more. Vocal tone. Just listen to this particular two things. I'm going to say the same thing. Vocal tone is very important when you're giving a speech or when you're conveying a message. Vocal tone is very important when you're giving a speech or conveying a message. Of course, you can feel the difference. Whenever we emphasize, it makes a point. When we change the vocal intonation, it's an emphasized message. But rather, if it's a monotone, I won't really blame the student if they kind of sleep off. First of all, having a lecture class for, say, 4 hours in a row is not a joke. And especially if you're the last person taking the lecture class, it's a challenge for the faculty. And if they speak in monotone, that's not going to happen. Now, we tell that very often to our students when they do their student presentation. Mind you, when I say this, we have trained many students during their presentations, and many of them have gone out of the college and got a lot of awards. First place, second place, third place, they have got many awards 2 years back, actually, this particular student, a group of students, they went to present, and the student was a bit scared because he was presenting amongst the other consultants. So that happened, like, and then I told them, like, just use these points, and I'm sure, like, whatever happens, don't forget about that part, but just do your best using these are the features of communications.
Right.
And well, he didn't get the first prize, but he got a third prize. The first prize was given to a consultant urologist, so you can see the standard of the presentation. So our final year student getting a third prize, I think that's an awesome achievement amongst that particular group.
It is.
Next, in the communication comes empathy. Actually, there's a bit of typo. It's empathize.
Okay.
Empathy is very important. The empathy would be more applicable, especially when you talk to your patients.
Right.
Now, there is a bit of difference between sympathy and empathy. When we sympathize, we are just feeling bad for the patient, or we like, oh, the patient is not doing well, we must look into that. But when you empathize, and especially as students, be it medical or dental, you have to realize the condition the patient is in, and you put yourself in the shoes of the patient, and then you realize the communication takes a whole new angle. Okay. So I created an acronym for you to remember very easily. It's a keep the communication simple. Listen to understand what you're talking or what you're hearing. Do some actions with non-verbal gestures, which I obviously cannot do here in front of the communications, in front of the computer that I'm looking at. Vocal tone, always play a very important role, and empathize or show some empathy when it comes to the patient, especially patients. That's all I would say for the attributes of good communication, Barbara.
All right, thank you. Now, is having good communication skills important? Especially like today, we're talking about embarking on a career in medicine or dentistry. There's a lot of emphasis that you need to be a good communicator. Why do people, say that, oh, the great doctors are always the best communicators? Why is communication such an important part for someone going into this field? If I'm going to be a dentist, my patient can't talk. Why can't I just be quiet along with my patient? Peaceful days, just get on with my work, and then when they're done, I just tap them on the shoulder and says, "You're done. You can go now. Please pay the bill on your way out." Why do we need to be good communicators if we want to be good doctors and dentists?
Yeah. Before that, I would like to mention, sometimes we have this saying in medical school that it's not like if you're a super specialist that you're going to be the best doctor in the town.
Right.
You might be just a general practitioner, but you can be a doctor who empathize with their patient and talk with them so well that they feel that 50% of their problem has been resolved just by looking at the person and talking to the person. Communication has such a great impact.
Okay.
Maybe like the next slide, I would like to give you just one more click. I'm going to keep it simple as promised. These are the two things why good communication is important. Establishing a good rapport with the people around you. And when I say people around you, mainly for students in this group, it will be faculty, it will be the patients, it will be the peers, it will be the office staff. All these people, we have to maintain a good rapport and create better understanding. Well, if you do not have a good understanding, everything will break down and you will have conflicts after conflicts. If the patient may not understand what you're trying to tell them or trying to like instruct them, advise them, or they may not even know what you're asking them. So that would lead to misunderstanding or conflicts. Similarly, when you're not able to express yourself well, that would also be a problem. Here, I would like to give you an example. This is from earlier batch, like 5 years back, 5 or 6 years back. This particular fellow, he was a final MBBS. Whenever I was the semester in charge, so I know him, I really know him very well because of this particular aspect, what I'm telling you, this example. Whenever you give him a written exam, say a block exam, we call it a block exam, a written as in MCQ or a essay question or a short answer question or anything written, his average marks would be around 80%, 75 to 80%. And by the way, when I say 75 to 80%, it means a huge amount when it comes to a professional course like MBBS or BDS. It is not like the school days when you get 90, 95, that thing doesn't happen here. The moment you score 70 and 75, you're considered one of the elite students. So this fellow used to score around 75, 80%, which was a wow. But whenever I have taken exam for him in the bedside, the clinical exams with the patient, and I would ask the same question or similar question, he was not able to answer. He was not able to express, and his average marks there would end up being 54, 55.
Oh
It
my.
was really, really disappointing because this fellow knew his stuff. As you can see from the theory, it's like 80, 80, 75, 80, 85. His range was there. And it was so disappointing that, come on, man. It's like, just the ability to express was not there.
Okay.
He cleared in one shot. I mean, obviously he would, but he can do brilliant stuff in his life if he has a bit of that communication skills inculcated in him. Apart from that, I'll tell you the implications of good communication. I will give you example from Toastmasters as well.
Okay.
Like I've seen in Toastmasters, when we started around 4.5 years. The incident I'm telling you, from his batch only we started this Toastmaster thing. There were students who would actually have shaky hands while giving their first speech. I remember because they were sitting next to me during our Toastmasters meeting. And when they go up, they're hiding behind the podium. This particular person was hiding behind the podium, reading from her script. And that's it, came back and said, whew, job done. But the same person, when she was giving her fifth speech, not 10th, 15th, fifth speech.
Okay.
She was not only using a PowerPoint, but I could see her hand gestures and her eye contact. Wow, she has already picked up in just 5 speeches. But the 5 speeches, of course, came in like a matter of 4 or 5 months. But still, whatever said and done, 5 speeches and the candidate was brilliant. And they also, like what happens is, when they have a very good communication, our students, many of them, when they go out, they become the head houseman. Forget the presentation part. They do very well during the presentation, but they become the head houseman. That means they build in a bit of leadership ability as well because of this communication skills. So definitely the 2 things that I would say, the importance of good communication, you can develop a very good rapport, therefore create a networking and a better understanding between the 2 communicators. So these are the 2 things. Maybe the next point.
Right. No, I'm going to stop you there. I have a few off-track questions. I pre-warned you that I would be throwing you some curveball. Now, you mentioned Toastmasters Club, Toastmasters International. Is this a common thing that it's available, widely available Toastmastering training, or it very much depends? So like at Malacca Manipal, obviously you help us champion and spearhead this, but is it widely available elsewhere?
Yes, it's widely available. Actually, in Malacca per se, we have around 15, sorry, not 15, 9 clubs. If you take just the lower part of Malaysia, that means from Selangor to Johor, just the southern part, central, a bit of central and the southern, there are almost 160 clubs.
But how many of these would be at universities or colleges?
Not many, not many. I can assure you that not many are the. When we opened the MMMC Toastmasters Club, I think only UM had that, but that was an university. I think we were one of the rare ones where the college opened a club. So this was back in 2016, 1st Jan, we opened this club. Now, of course, I think UPM has one. I'm not sure if the other colleges have a Toastmasters club, but when we opened it, we were like the only college having. I think UM had a university club. I don't know whether it's functional at the moment now, but after that, seeing the success of this, where students joined and improved, we had to open one more in Muar campus so that the students in Muar also benefited.
Okay.
But this one, we also added the foundation students. Initially, we were like, we said like, no, we're going to we're going to have a ceiling effect, more than 40 cannot join. But then there were a lot of requests from the foundation group, Foundation in Science. So we started allowing them also to join. Now we have, just because we have 2 clubs, we are much more comfortable. We just open it to anyone from MMMC to come and join. There's no ceiling effect. So we can just split the members into 2 different clubs.
Okay. Now, but you know, when you were talking about establishing good rapport, creating better understanding, it sounds to me like this communication skill is not something that comes in when you graduate from your degree and start your career, right? It is something that you need to inculcate in your undergraduate study years, especially if you're thinking of doing medicine or dentistry. You mentioned examinations. So, you know, these degrees have a component of examinations where you have to do a viva. It's an oral presentation, question and answer type of thing. So if students are able to inculcate good communication, have some form of training, either via Toastmasters, that sort of thing, then it would really put them ahead of their peers, isn't it, when they graduate?
Definitely. Actually, this slide, I didn't finish this slide. You asked me the question. If you can just put a click on this slide, I've given the things that can help the students from good communication. Now, as you said, like, you know, yes, communication is not just the viva or the student talking to the faculty or examiners. Sometimes what happens in the clinical scenario, they talk to the patient, get the history, and present that history to the faculty or the examiner. This happens in both. It's not just only medical. In dentistry, even though they are working on the oral cavity, they still have to take the history before they start their work.
Yes.
So they still have to present the history and they have to talk to the patient nicely, because if they don't talk nicely, especially when they're practicing, they will be in trouble. They will be in trouble. And as far as we are concerned, we always look into their history taking skills. Like sometimes what happens, we tell them, okay, you talk to the patient. Now, it doesn't matter what language they speak to the patient. Many times we see the tone, we see the approach, how they talk. Even if, like, let's say a student talks in Mandarin, taking a history from the patient, I may not know the content of what, of course, I know the like referral, like context I know, but I don't know exactly what word he's asking. But from the way he's communicating, I can assess whether his communication skills needs a bit of improvement or touch up to give him the finesse. So we do train them for their communication skills. Plus, when they actually join in Toastmasters or join in classes, they actually look into the faculty. Some of the faculty have very good communication skills in our college, so they can learn from example as well. So that will help them to take better history from patients. And of course, obviously the ultimate aim would be the better scores from the examiner, because if they can express well, in final year, the expression is very important apart from the clinical skills. If you can express your things properly, the history, the findings, whatever related to the exam, if you can express it nicely, well, then that's it. Remember the subjective component, the examiner will perceive this student is very confident, and that will also make the examiner give them more scores, more points. Because ultimately in final year, we may not see what you write down in your notes. We may not see that during the clinical notes. We see how you talk to us or how you examine the patient. So talking definitely will have a very big impact on the students. And obviously it will have an impact on the future. So when we are training them for good communication at MBBS or BDS level, it should definitely show when they're out, when they graduate and go out.
Okay, all right. Now, the last one, you know, how do you know if you're a good or a poor communicator? I mean, when I remember when I was 16, 17 years old, you know, people used to say, Barbara, you know, just shut up, you talk too much. There's no substance to what you're saying. You're just opening your mouth for the sake of opening your mouth. And that was a difficult lesson to learn. I'm glad I joined Toastmasters Club when I was in college. And that has helped me polish my communication skills. But honestly, if you were to ask me today, how can you tell, do as a self-assessment and a self-reflection, how can you tell if you're a good or poor communicator?
It's a very simple way of saying whether you're a good communicator or a bad communicator. If I have to say it in one line, I would say when you look at the person, when you ask the person, did you understand what I said or what I spoke? Like, for example, as a faculty, if I take an entire lecture session and the students did not learn anything from there, then I'm definitely a very, very poor communicator. The key thing is to create a human connection so that the person understands what you're trying to say and you're able to convey. Sometimes we may not, as I said, everyone is not a direct communicator. That is that A. Some people are more supportive, and when you're supportive, you tend to talk a bit more. When you're initiative, you tend to talk a bit more. Maybe I feel like when you say like, oh, I didn't have substance, this, that, I think you're probably the type B. You're more of an initiator in communication. So
Yeah, I
when
talk
you
to strangers in the elevator.
that's not bad. Okay, now at your age, we cannot say don't talk to strangers. You need to talk to strangers. But I would say, like, if I had to put everything concise in one line, say, when I speak to someone, did that person understand what I tried to say or try to convey? If the answer is yes, then definitely I have communicated it pretty well. If no, it could have various reasons. One would be the language. Sometimes we have these accents which people may not get. It's quite okay because we tend to get used to it, the accent. Not only just the Asian accent, sometimes we have the Western accents as well. We take time, but we often get used to it. So that should not be a problem. But initially, another thing would be like speaking very fast. Some people speak so fast that before you could imbibe what they are trying to say, they have already gone to the next line. So meaningful pauses would also be a good point for communication. If a person do not give pause, then they might lose their audience as well. The list that I'm showing you here is the impact of poor communication will happen directly on these people. Let's say a student comes in and he or she is not a good communicator. Now remember, a student always, be it a 16, 17-year-old or 20, 24-year final year student or a foundation student, they always need their peers. Because many things, it's not possible to keep track. So you need to have good communication with your peers. Many times they will fight. I'm not saying that you can never fight. But even though fighting, you should look in for conflict resolution. So peers, the communication with peers should be very good. Otherwise, it will have an impact on these people. Patients, office staff, faculty members, these are like for their own benefit that they need to have good communication. Otherwise, the impact of poor communication will be straight away linked to them. And can you click the next? It will result in these following things. It will create friction. It will lead to frustration of the person, in this case, student as well as faculty or the office staff or patients. Sometimes patient might tell the students, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Not many times, but it has happened 1 or 2 times. Then we had to sit with the student and tell them like, okay, you should avoid asking these questions directly. You should ask these questions in an indirect manner. Many times it has happened. So we train them accordingly. They are here for training. So we don't mind them making mistakes like that to avoid frustration. Because if the patient tells you on your face, no, I don't want to talk to you now. I mean, I don't like this way of questioning. So you have to tell them that this is the impact of poor communication. We have to train them, no, do not ask it in this manner. You can ask the same question, but in a more softer manner, in such a way, maybe like the patient doesn't feel directly offended by that. Because sometimes we have to take a lot of history which are of intimate details. It can create a lot of tension between peers as well as the students with the patient or student with the faculty. Confusion. Now students need to have a very good instruction medium where they know what to do, where to go, which hospital ward they have to be. If they don't have good communication, they will end up confused and they might end up going wrong place, wrong time, and ultimately missing the class. That would further increase the tension, frustration. All this will keep on like a domino effect, come back to the student. Lack of motivation, the top 4 happening will definitely lead to lack of motivation. So these are all domino effect. All this impact of poor communication will be domino effect, and the impact will be on these people for the students.
Right. So, you know, it's been very insightful, and I think you cannot stress more to our viewers today the importance of having good communication. Um, is it something that they can learn on their own, or would it be better if they are guided?
Yeah, they can always, this is a soft skill. They can learn to some extent on their own by watching various good communicators. There's plenty of things in the social media. They can actually pick up a lot of speeches, the TEDx talkers on YouTube, and find their communication styles. There are plenty of communication style videos in YouTube. But having said that, those are like just theoretical stuff. How much can you learn just by looking at a video? You have to do it yourself to learn, because you have to make the mistakes yourself. For that, I think the Toastmaster has provided a great platform in our college. So whether they're in Muar or in Malacca, they can join any club, and we actually go both sides. Doesn't mean that Mua means you cannot come to Malacca. There, it's a non-judgmental platform. When we meet the faculty and the students, we meet as members. That time we don't say, oh, I'm a faculty, you better behave and give the speech and things like that, keeping in mind that I'm faculty. No, we meet as friends in those platforms. And whenever we actually hear a speech, we tend to tell them their good points, and we don't say bad points, rather we say areas of improvement. And
Right.
that way it definitely motivates them, and they can also pick up which are the areas they are not doing that great and learn from that. I think they have to do on their own. It is not like a textbook thing, communication. It's like I read up and yeah, I can communicate now. It is very practical soft skill. Then you
Yeah.
have to apply that, and you have to have someone to supervise that you have applied it well.
So
And
the
the outcome,
feedback loop,
sorry,
the
feedback
feedback
is
loop,
very
that's what you're
important.
talking about.
Feedback is the breakfast for the champion. So that's what they say. So feedback is very important. And
Okay.
that's how they will learn, they'll improve. Some, not all are starting at zero. Many of them are in different levels of communication. Some are very good, they might just need a bit of finesse or fine touches. Some of them are so nervous, they probably need to be starting from scratch, and we have to build them up.
Okay. Now, one more question. We're in the age of technology, let the finger do the talking type of thing. How can a student, nowadays, young people, I mean, I have a 17-year-old and I have a 20-year-old, and we talk on WhatsApp, we chat more than we talk face to face. And sometimes I find that there's difficulty transitioning, moving away from the screen and the keyboard to looking someone in the eye and communicating. This is a generational effect. It's
True.
that's the bane of technology. Um, how can our students, right, if they've decided that medicine and dentistry is what they want to go into, how can they transition between their culture, the youth culture of today, to the profession required culture, where you have to open your mouth and talk to people?
It's, we cannot tell them stop WhatsApp or
Yeah.
stop communicating. That is also another form of communication. But many times the problem with WhatsApp is it's a written text, and it depends on the person reading that to interpret with all the emotions attached to it which the person reading has. Like if I'm not feeling that great mentally, and when someone texts me, I may not be appreciating that whatever is written there, because my emotional state is different. So when you meet a person face to face, it's a totally different thing. So what I would say is the text communication can go on because it's a brilliant platform, and now everyone is upgrading their platforms for communication. They have video calls, they can add in 8 people, 9 people. So let them have that, but the face to face communication should be there when you feel that there's a chance of conflict. So in these people, like when they feel that, oh, a WhatsApp message is not conveying, they should just terminate that WhatsApp communication and pick up the phone and call, because nothing beats a a direct communication. So to avoid the conflict.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to let everybody catch their breath, have a thought on what's been said. If you've got any questions, please feel free to use the chat feature. We are going to start taking your questions because we've got 10 minutes left of Prof. Som's time. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. In the meantime, Prof. Som, any pearls of wisdom that you want to share with our viewers today in closing?
I kept this quote. That's the main thing I want to say, that communication is the human connection. Whatever profession you take, whatever career you take, it's for personal and career success. Communication is the key. It's not just when you go to work, communication works. Even when you're interacting with your family member, like when you're interacting, like I have two teenage sons, like when I communicate, I have to be careful how I communicate as well. So communication is key not only to the personal but also for career success. So ultimately we have to build up the human connection, because that is the main thing of communication, the human connection.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Som. Now, we are talking to you today from Malacca Manipal Medical College, where we have a foundation in science, a bachelor's of medicine, bachelor's of surgery, also known as the MBBS, a bachelor's of dental surgery. And as Prof. Som indicated earlier, students who are studying at Malacca Manipal, you have the access to our Toastmasters Club, available in both Malacca and Muar campus. It is a paid association, but it's very affordable. Prof. Som, I believe it's about 20 ringgit a month or something.
It's actually $7.5 a month.
Okay, right.
7.5 USD, US dollars.
Okay, so that works out to be about 30 ringgit a month, where meetings are held twice a month. Correct. At night, right? And since everybody is staying on campus in the hostels, it's very, very accessible. And this is where you could improve upon your communication skills, a much needed soft skill that we've established. It's crucial to being a successful healthcare practitioner. Okay, so our MBBS, we have 2 intakes a year, April and October. The October intake is now open. If you've not made an application, do connect with our counselors. 6 semesters out of the 10 semesters is clinical. So once again, we cannot emphasize or re-emphasize how important strong communication skills are required if this is the profession you want to go into. And in our semester 10, our students undertake what we call shadow housemanship, where you pretend that you are already a houseman, right? And you start that under our watchful eyes. Now, the benefit of this shadow housemanship is when you actually start your housemanship, you've got 6 months experience under your belt, and that will put you in good stead. Okay, so we are in Malacca. Normally sunny, but it's a rainy afternoon today. But Malacca is one of those places where the people, the community, who are the patients at the hospitals, they welcome you as one of your own. Okay, so this was something Prof. Som didn't say, but a lot of the patients you see would be under category B, and sometimes you've got to drive them back to the conversation, like, why are you actually here in the hospital? Because they'll tell you about how they fell down visiting their son's colleagues house, they had just moved in, yada yada yada. Okay, so hostel is provided, it's available on campus. And we've got a vibrant student life here. They say that when you study medicine and dentistry, it's just study, but that's not true. Again, under the guidance of Prof. Som, the student council is very, very active. It's something that we do to keep you sane, right? And to make sure that you're healthy. If taking part in activities is not your thing, sports is more of your thing, we've got a fully equipped sports complex, and the subscription to these sporting facilities are actually part of your tuition fee. There's no extra charge. Okay, now if you want to make an application, please take note that we've got minimum entry grades that you need to reach. Again, reach out to our counselors. Our application online is it's all online. We've got scholarships available as well. Scholarship is very, very attractive in this very difficult economic times. So again, talk to your counselors, right? And with that, Prof. Som, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you, Barbara.
You know, to all our viewers today, thank you so much. Do follow us on our Facebook page, Triple MC Malaysia. Our Facebook page is Triple MC Malaysia. Do follow us so that you'll be kept informed of future webinars. This is our last one that we will do on a Thursday. Starting in July, we will be moving this to something you can do with your parents on a Saturday late afternoon over goreng pisang and a cup of tea. So we will keep you informed. We hope that you enjoyed today's session, and we hope to see you again soon at our next webinar. Till then, this is Barbara signing off from Malacca Manipal Medical College. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great evening. Stay safe. Take care.